Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to specifically talk about Dungeons and Dragons. We're going to talk about Stranger Things 4, spoilers for all of Stranger Things in this content, and we're going to talk about True Name, the power of a name. All right, so Stranger Things 4 gets into this massively important question. I don't, we Dungeons and Dragons is so powerful. I remain connected to it because it has deep wisdom about life. So in DND 1E, right, Gary Gygax introduced a true name. He was like, if you know something's true name, you have power over it, right? He talked about this in a spell in Dungeons and Dragons 1E, and of course it was connected to the fantasy aspects of the game, but it contained powerful wisdom about our names. Our names are really important, and so I want to have a conversation about names. So 11 in Stranger Things 4 has two names, right? Now Elle is actually a nickname. It's short. Actually, she has three names. Her name is Jane. Okay, Jane Hopper. She takes Hopper's last name, Sheriff Hopper. Okay. She also, and you could tell in season 4, she really wants to be Jane Hopper. There's one specific scene where Mike calls her Elle, right? And it upsets her. Like she doesn't respond well to it, right? And the reason why, she's like, that's my old name. That name was given to me by the scientist Brenner, and he didn't care about me. He didn't love me, right? She's almost like, that's my government name, like, and this is a name that is bound in terror for her, right? But for Mike, the name Jane is meaningless. Right? He knows Elle as 11. That's her third name. Jane, 11, Elle, right? And all of these have these deep meanings, right? So 11, she really wants to be called Jane because she wants to say, I'm a normal human being. I'm not a remote assassin built by the scientist Brenner. That's what 11 means to her, right? But Mike is saying, hey, when I knew you, I called you 11. That name has meaning for me, right? And he goes even further, and he takes 11 and he shortened it to L. By the way, if you don't know this, learn it quick. Nicknames are a straight up power move. Anybody who nicknames somebody else, you're dealing with a power player. You're dealing with a predator, not prey, right? By the way, I don't know if you know tasking. If you don't know what tasking is when somebody grooms you to do what they say with simple tasks like pass me the salt. If they ever meet somebody and the first thing they say, and before you even get their name, they're like, pass me the salt. And they say it. They don't say please or anything, or they, just they're grooming you to like do what they say in the future, right? And tasking and nicknaming are huge, right? So here's my question, right? We are having this conversation now, and Dungeons and Dragons called this out from the beginning, saying true name. What is your true name? So that's the question, right? So it seems obvious that Jane. So here's my question: does Jane 11 get to dismiss Mike's desire for what she's called, right? And you're like, oh yeah, of course, our autonomy is the most important thing in the world. But wait a second. We as a culture don't give autonomy on names. We give the power of naming to parents. Parents name children. Children don't name themselves, right? They do have the power to rename themselves later, right? But it's a big ordeal, and you have, and so I'm not sure that just dismissing Mike's desire to keep the 11 name can just be washed away, right? What is her true name, right? Is she Jane Hopper? Just who's the daughter of a man who did not birth her, or was not involved in her birth? Or is it 11? Like, Brenner created her in many ways, and her powers come from Brenner. It's a deep subject, and I think Gary pointed us right at it. He's like, what's the true name? What's the true name? And when you have the true name, you have power over the thing, right? And I think this discussion is, again, it's just one of these things where we're at the beginning of the discussion. We're not at the end. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.